Hello everyone. So welcome back to your weekly astrological reading. So I have one chart for every day of the week, and this week, of course, as you can see, will be for August 5th through the 11th, just in case you're only listening. Uh, and we have Mercury retrograde, but Mercury's the messenger, right? And he's going to hook up with Venus this week, back into that retrograde position. So that'll be an interesting, I think, turn of events. And then we also have the moon moving through the sign of Leo, Virgo, into Libra, and then making it into Scorpio for a little bit. And then, of course, we'll continue on in the next week. But during that time, the moon will make tons of aspects to all the other planets because, they're over on the other side. So anyway, let me just show you. When you see it visually, you'll understand. Okay, hold on. Be right back. Okay, so before I get started with this chart for Monday, I just wanted to say that I heard on the news, really, really good news, that the Americans that were held in in Russia, some in, I think a couple of them were actually in the prison. But anyway. There's been a prisoner swap. So 4 Americans. It was Evan. Oh my goodness, can I pronounce his last name correctly? Gershkovich, I think, or maybe it's just Gershwich. I don't know. But Paul Whelan stands out, and then another guy named, or maybe that was the woman. I think there was a woman, also Kermashiva or something. I think like that, and then. Vladimir Kara-Murza, who, that's a guy that's been poisoned. I don't even know how many times, I lost track. But we got all 4 of them back, or we're getting all 4 of them back. And Putin just gets his one FSB officer. So that's great. Although that FSB officer is pretty bad, but he must have really wanted him enough to let these other 4 go. So that's the good news. To try and figure it out astrologically, I would think that we'd have to go back to last week's transits and, of course, look into Thursday. But being that it's headed towards the new moon, that new moon in Leo, that's still going to happen this weekend on Sunday, and Mercury going retrograde on that evening as well. That's Pacific time. Now, if you're in Eastern time or Atlantic time, or even beyond that, then of course Mercury won't go retrograde until the 5th and possibly the 6th, depending on what country you're in. So anyway, with that being said, that's the good news. I'm thinking that Mercury starting to go retrograde will help even more with unifying. And then we all know what happened yesterday when it comes to Trump shooting off his racist, misogynistic, just awful, moronic mouth about black people, black women. It was so bad. It was so bad that his handlers made him leave early. And this was, I guess they had booked him, or not booked him, but given him an hour. And I think it was 37 minutes in, they made him leave. So, and this was the Association of Black Journalists in Chicago. So, and these were all black female interviewers, and it got really nasty. Terribly nasty, but they called him, and they didn't let up, when it came to the questions, and he never would answer anything, of course, because he just deflects and goes into his lizard brain racist rant, and there it went. So yeah, so I can imagine that through the weekend, more and more people will see that on the news. And this will only help the divine feminine here holding space in Eris. Eris holding space in Aries. Again, we're not taking it anymore. It's that divine, feminine, righteous anger. And so we're all here for it. But yeah, then again, too, it's so stupid. Not the anger, not the healthy anger, but the things that are said are so stupid that it makes you just laugh sometimes. Because it's like, what? This guy is like living light years behind us. Meanwhile, he's the divider, and then we have Kamala, who is the unifier. And there's going to be more and more of that with Mercury conjunct Venus as Mercury goes, it's retrograde, and, stationed retrograde the day before, but now on Monday, August 5th, it's going to be crossing over. It's like Venus is moving forward to meet Mercury, and Mercury is moving, not really backwards, but it's just our relationship on Earth to the planets, coming together, going back towards Venus. So that's wonderful. And with, for today, with the moon being at that 24 degrees of Leo, we're in that third decan where we are really blooming. And what's blooming is open-hearted generosity, open-hearted loving, and also people like Trump who, you give a psychopath enough rope and eventually they hang themselves. Well, he's doing himself in. With the sun at 13 degrees, we're in that furk around and find out phase, learning lessons. So now this will only be for some people who just are very, on the dark side of Leo, would be very arrogant and narcissistic. So, yeah. And especially him, because I think this just about opposes his natal Pluto. I think his natal Pluto might, hold on, I have his chart somewhere over here. I think his natal Pluto, is it about 10? Yeah, it is. It is. So this makes sense because here it is. This is Monday, right? And I'm doing this reading on Thursday. It was Wednesday, July 31st, that he screwed up and, did what he did. And I bet you, the sun would have been at about 10 degrees, right? Right? Because this is Monday. So Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Yeah, even less. But so he was definitely having sun. So sun, the shining, the spotlight on the darkness of his soul. And it's going to be talked about all weekend. And so by Monday, it's going to be like, oh, I shouldn't have said that. Then again, knowing him, he'll probably just double down on it because, he has enough friends, enough cronies that'll jump on board with him, and there you go, So it's pretty much the battle of the light and the dark, but the light always wins eventually, and the darkness comes out, and we get to shine a light on it. And yeah, and remember, of course, last week we had so much with the sun opposing Pluto, the moon and the sun both opposed Pluto before, moving towards the new moon. So there's all that. But this is Monday, the day after probably about the worst weekend. Well, no, I can't say that. Not the worst weekend Trump will ever have, but he's heading for some really hard times. His gaslighting isn't working. The Neptune, the Saturn and Neptune together, retrograde in Pisces, that the gaslighting isn't working anymore. There aren't as many gullible people, and he's losing, they're just like bleeding voters now that Kamala has jumped on board. So we'll see how all this plays out. But for us, what I really wanted to make sure that you guys really got the most important thing when it comes to, Jupiter's midway already through Gemini. And this is, the journey that began in May, so late May. Jupiter began moving through the sign of Gemini, Gemini being communication and analyzing words and understanding, learning, getting clear, like opening up. Jupiter opens up and expands and helps us to learn on the higher levels what's really going on. So like I've been saying, it's the power of the word. But we are listening to everything that these people are saying, on either side, and we're analyzing what they're saying, and we're wondering, okay, we're questioning. Wait, did he really say that? Or, dang, she said that, and I love it. It could be something like that, and it could be anything in between. With Jupiter and Gemini, it gets us going in the direction of, oh, it's kind of like. You see your dog and his head goes to the one side. You're like, what? But it gets you to open up your perception, your perspective. And that's everything, right? Questioning things and learning things is everything. It helps to help us break through duality when it's in Jupiter. Because Jupiter opens up to that third realm. It's not either or, it's and. Jupiter brings in the and. So if we can use this time to use our logical, analytical left brain and find our common sense in all things, it's going to help our intuitive right brain. But if we're just going to go coasting along on our intuition, well, when Jupiter's in Cancer, we'll have that experience of opening up more, to our sensitivities and our psychic abilities. Gemini, too, will get us there, but through the vehicle of looking at things from both sides. And that's a good thing, because it's not smart to not think things through logically. Like it's just, imagine trying to put a jigsaw puzzle together, and instead of fitting all the pieces together and see what connects, to get to, the core, usually you start with the side. I mean, I haven't done one in years, but I always knew corners first, sides first, frame it in, and then you work your way in to the center. Well, with the Gemini process, especially with Jupiter in the mix, or Jupiter holding the space for that puzzle to come together, we work into the center and connect all the dots until we get into the truth. But if we're going to go with the way we want it to be and thinking, yeah, it's that because that's what I want it to be because that makes that guy look even dumber, or it's all a big da-da-da-da-da, and that fits into my conspiracy theory frame of reference, or, just all the racist things that can come through some people's brains, because they want to see things a certain way because it fits into their limited, extremely, extremely limited belief system. And Jupiter is all about the belief system. So this is our time to learn about what do we really believe. What is it that we really believe? And when we're communicating with others, especially now that Mercury is going retrograde, we're going to have an extra. Remember, Mercury rules Virgo and Gemini. So there's this natural setup going on that's going to help us understand what people are really saying. And when they say some things, and and especially, well, joking or not, doesn't matter. But when they say certain things, you might want to ask questions around it because you might be misunderstanding them. One of the hallmarks of Mercury retrograde is being misunderstood or misunderstanding someone else. Or they said something just kind of flip. I mean, I do stuff like that all the time. But then I'll catch myself and go, no, wait, I shouldn't have said that because I don't really mean that. Because now that I think it through, it's just lame, right? So I think with Mars hooked up with Jupiter, we're in this process of really getting hooked up with figuring out what's lame in our brains and working to turn that around. On another level, with Mars moving all this energy of all these words, Mars moving all these words, you're probably going to experience people talking 500 miles an hour, and you just want them to slow down and take a breath and whatever. Especially if you're watching, well, I don't know, I've never tried it the other way around, but if you're watching a YouTube video, you can go to the, the little settings wheel, and you can speed people up if they're talking way too slow and you don't have time, or you like the fast words, because some people do. I like normal tempo. I don't like too slow or too fast. Too slow would be okay if I'm trying to learn something, and then for the first time, and then if I'm going to review it, every time I review it, I might go a little faster, but you never want it so fast that it's just, I don't know. That's just me. But words going too quickly, people going into duality too quickly. There's a lot of energy around this dualistic, and that's exactly what I was talking about with the, just jump into conclusions because it fits your frame of reference and you want it to be that way, right? Whatever it is, we really have to stop and slow down. And like I said, just like you're building a jigsaw puzzle, you really, really want to connect those dots. So if you have a train of thought and you're thinking, you're wondering, now, I wonder if this is true or not. Well, what you do is you follow it through with your, okay, so you think, okay, it's either true or not. So if it's true, that means you go in this direction and you follow every single one of those logical deductions. You let go. This is where you let go of your intuitive, because you really want to get to that high level of reasoning ability that every human has. But we will have blind spots if we've been overusing our we'll have blind spots if we're addicts and they drink a lot or use pot a lot, and the synapses in the brain doesn't connect the way it should. Or you just have blind spots in your soul because you've never used your high-level reasoning abilities. You've relied too much on your intuition. So if you rely too much on your intuition, then once that's fully developed, that intuitive focus is good. But you're always going to need to balance out the other part of your brain. And then your intuition will become even more sharp, right? But a lot of times, you don't need a psychic. You don't need an intuitive. You just need to follow through with your logical deduction. And then when you hit it's kind of like, do a Zen diagram or whatever it's called, do a flow chart. We've got flow chart here, flow chart here. Something's coming out on the news. There's a lot of drama around it. Let's follow it through and see where it goes. Now, we're also waiting for pieces of information to come out in the news. I mean, this happened a lot with Trump's assassination attempt, and him saying that it was a bullet. Well, now his ear is right out there. He was right out there yesterday at that, in Chicago. There was no piece of his ear missing. So obviously it was just a little shard of glass from the teleprompter, just like us thinking logically figured out. But then, we have so many other people thinking, oh, all this other stuff happened. Well, follow that through logically, right? 8 bullets were fired. The shooter was killed. Another man was killed. 2 people are still seriously injured. But some people are thinking, oh, it was staged. Well, you better hire a better assassin if you're going to stage something like that. So that doesn't follow my logical thinking things through. Like, this is just one example, thinking things through to the end. Now, if it was staged, then you would follow a different train of thought, and as you would go through either the Zen diagram or the flow chart, you would hit walls. You would keep hitting walls. Just like with the puzzle, you couldn't find the pieces that fit together. So you couldn't ever get to the core of the truth. So the reason I'm spending so much time talking about this is because this is exactly what Jupiter and Gemini is all about. And with Mars moving forward every degree, closer that it gets, we are in that realm of mental energy. And if you don't slow down and think it through, you're going to run into trouble, or you're just going to have some lame in the brain experiences and whatever. But you know what? There's the other possibility too. And this is especially true with this sesquisquare up to Pluto, because this can be a very stubborn energy where you want to believe something a certain way about somebody who's, in a position of power, and you might be right, but you also might be wrong. But to stubbornly hold on and not open up to the possibility of looking at everything from a different angle, well, that's what Mercury retrograde's all about, and that's what Mars in Gemini is all about, and that's what Jupiter in Gemini is all about, is looking at everything from a different angle and getting out of duality. So, you can also see that we have a finger of fate. We have a yod right here, and it's pointing to Venus. I love this. Okay, so let's break down what a finger of fate, what a yod is. Of course, you can see these two, here, if I just go like this, see the two inconjuncts right here? They're coming from two planets, and the sextile at the top is coming from two planets, and the point is down to one planet. So, with Neptune sextiling Pluto, we've talked about that last week. I'll reiterate it again. So Neptune can be our source energy, but it can also be our gullibility. It can also be gaslighting from people in positions of power. Now, I wouldn't really say Trump is in a position of power. I think he's falling apart, and we're going to see him do it publicly. But he does have a platform. He is the Republican candidate, and he is gaslighting people that we have so much compassion for and love for and unity around. Neptune in Pisces in its highest form is inclusiveness on all levels. And it's very sensitive to everyone else. You don't want something for yourself that you don't want for somebody else, basically. It's unity. Venus over here is unity. With Virgo, it's a feminine sign. Pisces over here is a feminine sign. Pluto up here is in a masculine sign, but it can be much more open, and I can't even really try to genderize Aquarius. I don't even really like putting genders into it. But when I say feminine, I think receptive. When I say masculine, I think, or, maybe you could say yin and masculine would be yang. There you go, like that. You can think of it that way. But back to this yod. So the power of thinking outside the box, right? Pluto power, Aquarius outside the box, revolutionary thinking, outgoing, something original, and then over here that's inclusive, because it includes, Neptune and Pisces, inclusive there. So inclusive, revolutionary, original thinking. That's also, Aquarius also is very independent. It's our self, actualization. It's our self. It's not being dependent. We're all interdependent on each other, but in the healthy way, it's enjoying each other. It's not taking or needing to get something from someone else. It's a party. Right? It's opposite as Leo. It's a party. On the dark side, it's a lot of drama, and it's a lot of control, and somebody trying to be on top, and then they're gaslighting. That's Trump. Well, this Monday morning, we have this yod that is lasting, I think, until, let's see, hold on. If I remember, oh yeah, I did. I put it up here. I was going to pop the hours before ahead of time, and then I realized, I did it. It's between 4 and 8 a.m. Pacific time, so adjust according to your time zone. But the deal is that it's all pointing to the planet Venus. So remember, Venus is all about unity and things that help us to have a stronger value system. So in Virgo, we're going to be really discriminating and learning. And then with Mercury retrograde right there close by, we're going to be learning even more. Again, communicating, learning, working out the bugs, getting the facts, just the facts, ma'am. And then we can move on and learn something new because we've got Mars over here in Gemini as well. And all the while, Jupiter with this inconjunct, or not sorry, inconjunct, this sesquisquadrate going on here, what we're dealing with there is dealing with some disruptive energy and then making a detour. Because the detour is taking us to, Jupiter's a hold of the detour, like the route. Like if you're in a traffic jam and you realize, oh, we need a different route. Well, as soon as you get to that off ramp, like you're going to have to stay. You're going to be stuck, and you're going to have to stay for a little bit. But then, as soon as you see that off ramp that you can get off and try to make your way around, you're going to take it. And then Jupiter will help set you free. And when in Gemini, set your mind free, right? Because if you want the truth and you keep asking for the truth and letting go of what you think is the truth until you really figure out what the truth is, it'll always be a better situation. The other way it could go, the way it could happen or play out with some people, is that this can be a lot of fighting, a lot of angry words, a lot of hair trigger words posted in comment sections, in emails, words face to face, but usually most people are too wimpy to say something to your face, just like Kamala just tells him, say it to my face. Yeah, I know I'm black. God. Oh. And he thinks that she wouldn't be good with world leaders. Oh, really? Every world leader thinks that you're nothing but Putin's useful idiot, Putin's puppet. I mean, what other woman called that out on you how many years ago? Could it be? So, anyway, with this yod this morning, I am going to predict that we have a news dump like we've never seen before, and it has to do with the power of women who have been gathering tons and tons of information. Well, they've been gathering their courage. The information was happening when Venus was back here in Gemini. But then, of course, we went into our sensitive, protect our family first mode, and then gathered more courage while Venus was in Leo. And now that Venus is in Virgo, it's like, oh, I've got the facts and I've got the laws on my side, and I know how to use these facts to get somewhere eventually as Venus moves through Virgo. And it can be very healing. It can also be, a dissemination of so many facts that really helps everyone else. And it can also be very, it brings a lot of opportunities together for everyone else to learn. So, very, very practical. Like I said, just the facts. And there you go. Now, the only way we could get into trouble here with Venus and Virgo would be to just not be very discerning and just kind of let things go and go into anxiety because things are too chaotic. But if they're not chaotic in your brain and they're not chaotic in your life, if you have a sense of divine order, we all have a sense of divine order within, and if we set ourselves on the path of creating divine order in our lives, simplifying our lives, and, like things in your home, everything has its place. If it doesn't have its place, you're not going to be able to find it when you need it. You're going to be looking all over your house for that thing that never had its place. So everything in your house, now you can change it up, right? We can create something new, and then it takes a little while for you to remember, oh yeah, that's right, it's over here now. You can do that. But for the most part, if you're in trauma, if you're going through a healing transition, then you might be all over the place for a while. But if you go slow, and this happens with PTSD patients. It's putting things together that match. It's having a place for where things belong, so that you know where to go, so that when you get stressed out, you have your go-to, where you find your grounding things, whatever they are. The hardest thing, I think, to keep track of is our phones, our cell phones, because we tend to carry them around with us. And then it's like, okay, well, at least for me, you guys tell me if this is the case for you. My TV remote and my cell phone are the two hardest things for me to keep track of. So there's that. I will confess. And that kind of does go, Mercury and Virgo, they go with devices, these things that have all these connections together and geared towards communication and unity. So there we go. Now, Mars over here in Gemini just got another little hit, because Mars rules the military and Mars activates and fights for what it wants. We could expect to have some kind of little blow-ups somewhere. That it's kind of ridiculous, the things that are being said about, what did Trump say that, I think that was another dumb thing he said either yesterday or the day before, that Chuck Schumer, the minority House Speaker, that Chuck Schumer was for Hamas, like friends with Hamas. Like, what? What kind of bullshit is that? So right there, it's like Trump is starting a war based on what what comes out of his mouth. When I saw that, I thought, I'd sue him. I would sue him for that if I were Chuck Schumer. Because I think you would call that, wouldn't that go under defamation as well? Slander, defamation, all of that. But, with Trump and his lawsuits, it's like, get in line. He's not going to have any money left when it all comes down to it. But that's okay. They can attach his properties. So, okay, let's see. What else? When it comes to Venus being at the point, so these forces coming together in two types of adjustments that will need to be made, because something is off and something's requiring an adjustment. But two things are requiring an adjustment. It's to not be gaslit. It's to not be in a dualistic, basically, it's to not be anything less than completely self-responsible for yourself and your belief system, because we've got source energy here that feeds us the truth all the time. We just have to stop and ask for it. And the more we do that, then the less we can be victimized, I guess would be another key word with Pisces and Neptune. And then most of all, to not be all over the place. To focus, like I said, focus. If there's something in your life that is not working well, if it's disempowering you in some way, keeping you from functioning the way that you want to, then the adjustment will be made to bring in some specific types of support and unity and harmony, because it's pointing to Venus. And that in turn will help empower you and help organize you, right? Because Aquarius energy can be very, it can categorize. It can be very intelligent in a way that brings together a lot of different pieces of information, and then suddenly there you are with a network of information and categories and, the nomenclature of something, right? So that's there for you guys this morning. And I love that. I love seeing that. Let's see, what else? can see Uranus is still at that later degree of Taurus, and so we're definitely in that deepening and blooming stage of, and it's going to go retrograde soon, but take it for all you can. And even when it goes retrograde, I don't mind retrogrades of the planets because it's do-over time. It's inward time to really get clear. So yeah. It won't go retrograde until the end of the month. But let's look at this little semi-square here too, from Mars over to Eris. Mars and Eris are so much alike, being that they both fight. And with Mars and Gemini, again, as much information as you gather, the better. And then that will determine which way you go. Because semi-squares bring through sometimes indecision, and if you don't have all the information, it's hard to know which way to go or what to do or what action to take. So again, like I just said in the beginning, do as much as you possibly can to inform yourself. And then you can also see that we have that T-square going on with Ceres still. And I looked this up. Ceres, or I went forward. I didn't have to look it up. I just kept going forward until I figured out where this square will be released. And it won't be until September 2nd. So we've got a good month of working this. Now, working this will be, for us, it'll be nurturing in very practical ways, justice and equality, and moving forward because it's squaring the north node. So we're in that tension field of nurturing our future based on justice and equality, because that's Ceres, and especially for women. And then the other tension field of that beautiful Libra energy, which is justice and equality and fairness. So it's like Venus over here, Mars over here, right? Venus rules Libra and Taurus. Mars rules the North Node in Aries. And there we are with that tension field. So it's also sometimes, Ceres is also grief and separation, but that's going to be for the greedy and the corrupt as time goes by. But now, this time for this month, it's really, really, really out there. We're going to get so much information coming out about anybody that we want to know about, and especially, these corrupt SCOTUSes on the bench, and especially, who is causing all this problem. I mean, it's easy to follow the money. Sometimes it's hard, though, with those super PACs, and the Heritage Foundation, those hidden super PACs with the Heritage Foundation and the Federalist Society and all that. But eventually the truth always comes out. So, in fact, yesterday, I saw something about a bipartisan group of senators who proposed a bill to ban deepfakes. It was, Amy, is her first name? Klobuchar? That was talking about it. So I love knowing that. And it being bipartisan, it's like, yeah, that's a good idea, because nobody wants a deep fake of you doing something you didn't do, right? No matter who you are, what side you're on. So that brings people together. There's Mars and Jupiter coming together there, right? To fight for the truth in information. So, and this would affect, like, the FCC, FEC, all of these commissions that need to be sure everything is truthful, or that the lies are exposed. That's good too. So, yeah. Let's see. What else? We have the trine from the moon. Now, this would be for today only, and especially this morning. The moon at 24 degrees of Leo, like I was saying, it's in that blossoming stage. So our creative self-expression is nurtured, and there's that trine going over to Eris. So there's the courage to just be your real self. Put your real self out there. See how it goes. Not everybody's going to jive with you, but it doesn't matter. If you jive with you, that's what matters. And eventually you work things through so that, we can kind of all come together. So, okay, so let's go ahead and go to Tuesday. Tuesday we have, we're starting off with the moon here. It has made it crossed over into Virgo and has made it all the way to the other side of Mercury by 4 a.m. Tuesday, August 6th. So, and you can see that the moon is in an exact inconjunct to the North Node. So the moon in Virgo in that first decan, we are getting some new information. Between that 0 and 9 degrees, we're developing something new. And with Virgo, it's either dietary healing information that would be good for you, or which, makes that adjustment to, your future that brings in more vitality with Aries, more presence in your body. So that could be true for someone out there. And that's especially true because the moon hit up Venus, which can tend to overindulge sometimes, and then had some communication time with Mercury the messenger, and now she's over here on the other side going, oh, I think I have all the information I need, and now I know which way to go. And maybe there wasn't anything to do with any indulging, but that Venus is always trying to balance things out and create harmony, and in the body, in the digestive, system, because Virgo is all about the digestive and the endocrine system. So there very well could be some new information that's gathered by Tuesday morning, or you get the information on Tuesday morning, and then later on at 1:15 we have, the moon will be actually squaring Mars over here. So that's when some real action will be taken, I think, right? You get the information first, you get what you need to know, and then you've got the tension field of, oh, dang, imagine it's a dietary thing and you realize you got to change your diet completely. And then now it's like, dang, I have to go shopping in a whole new way. And I have to get things out of my house that I can't eat or give them away, whatever. Of course, you do as much as you can of that. But yeah, same thing goes with, like, if you find sensitivities to certain fabrics or other things in your home. Because just think of Virgo as being your... it's related to the 6th house, so it's so much about your day-to-day scheduling and activity. And again, you're discriminating as you go, you're discerning as you go, and it's very, very practical, and you're learning as you go. It's like the 8 of Pentacles in the tarot, where, there's that person making every single little one of those little beautiful pentacles, and eventually what happens is you get a system. Virgo's very connected to systems that work. Healthier systems that work. Now, all of this Virgo energy over here, and especially because with the moon, this also could relate to our fur babies. Okay? Anything that we nurture, anything that we take care of, anything that we love, and then also our comfort. The moon is related to our comfort and our safety and how we, what we belong to. And it's also the evolutionary need to belong to ourselves. Well, nothing belongs to yourself like your guts, right? Nobody can feel what's going on in your guts but you. And your guts will teach you. It's our microbiome that is so, so powerful. And they call it our second brain, right? So, okay. Let's see. With the square to Mars, besides the action to become healthier or become more ordered or become more discerning, you can also, with that square, you also might want to be careful about not integrating slowly. Like sometimes when you make really quick and big changes, and you don't go slow, you won't really know which is the thing that was working, when you make too many changes all at once. So maybe to slow down the change, because Mars is over here with pushing the information, and the moon, let's say it's our body, is over here in Virgo going, I can only take so much at a time. And that's true with information. Maybe this is too much information to digest Tuesday afternoon. Okay, so do what you need to do to take care of yourself, no matter what it is. Sometimes the squares make you feel like you have to act, but sometimes you don't. Maybe what all that needs to happen, maybe what that square is really about is to let go of having to, fight or flight. Let go of the need to act. Let go of the striving too much. It will help you to master something eventually. Squares always do help you to, they bring in strengths eventually. So, okay, you can also see today with the sun at 14 degrees, we're still in that learning lesson stage, the fork around and find out stage. But we have a sextile to Jupiter. So there we are and we'll have that tomorrow as well. But so the deal with that would be an opportunity. The sextile is always an opportunity, and for Jupiter it will be to expand. In Mercury it will be to expand your mind, your thinking, your learning, your communication, finding those patterns, connecting the dots, all those things. Mercury also rules the news and votes, people that, when we get our opportunity to vote. So all this information coming out about voting, and especially for women, we're going to have tons of that going on. So, and then Mars is still in that semi-square over here to Eris, so I don't need to speak about that again. Neptune, well, it's actually the Sun making the sesquisquadrate up to Neptune. Now, that brings through the disruption that might happen coming from somebody who has a lot to say, and people over here don't feel included in their point of view. Again, the Sun's at that fork around and find out phase of learning lessons. So this could be an arrogant statement made by insert your person of choice, and it doesn't have to be a political person, but there could be some realization, because the Sun, again, it shines a spotlight on something and it gives information. It gives prominence. It gives attention to something. Well, whatever the something is, does not include of everyone. It's the opposite of that. And because of that, then there will be a major disruption or an unexpected little detour, depending on what it is. So watch for that today. And with traveling as well, maybe in the morning you might want to be careful. Yeah. Let's see. Did I cover the inconjunct to the North Node? I think I did right away in the beginning. So yeah. So let's cover this little semi-sextile. It's a very minor aspect, but it's a good one, because the semi-sextiles are as this little blue upside K. It's an aspect of making some effort to build something and manifest something. Well, with the moon to the Virgo moon to the South Node in Libra, this could be to help you balance something out in your life. It could also be balancing out your body. It could also be connecting with a friend or some social circle that helps in some way, or you help them, or you guys help each other. So I like that one there. Okay, let's go ahead and go to Wednesday. So Wednesday we have the sun right here at 15 degrees, like I said it was before, and the sextile to Jupiter is exact. And so it's the same thing, the opportunity, sextiles being the opportunity to get some more clarity on something, whatever it is that needs to have some attention, that we need to focus on. And hopefully it's our own life path, it's our own journey, it's our own vocation, and it has to do with our life purpose and our leading edge and being in our authority, because these are all the Sun and Leo qualities. And with the sextile over to Jupiter, there's support and help and communication. So there's, again, the opportunity to get the information that you need and heal something. Maybe you've been having a hard time thinking of how to say what you want to say, and it's very possible that by Wednesday it comes together first thing in the morning. Maybe something came through in dream time, because the sun is also in that sesquisquadrate of, to Jupiter, to Neptune. And there again, there can be something that comes through in dream time. Neptune and Pisces is especially, Neptune, both of them, but it's doubly strong when Neptune is in Pisces to have dreamtime connections. And then because of Saturn over here opposing the moon, again, dreamtime spiritual foundations or manifesting, with Saturn, it can help you manifest something, and from the spirit world, messages from the spirit world, and over to the moon. The moon rules dreamtime, Pisces rules dreamtime, Neptune rules dreamtime, and grounding it with Saturn. Virgo, getting the details. Okay, so getting the details for your spiritual foundation, and anything you're creating in your life really is a spiritual foundation. It's just that we want to build things on solid ground. We don't want to build things on sand. So getting the facts and getting the details, and the moon is at that almost out of that second decan of learning lessons, and next it'll be into that deepening and blossoming phase. So all day we're in the deepening and blossoming phase as the moon moves on. So that's really wonderful. Let's see. Yeah, we still have Jupiter in that sesquisquadrate to Pluto, like I was talking about before. And look how Mars has gone almost 2 degrees ahead. It'll be at 12 degrees really soon. And that will only bring in 3 degrees of separation there to Jupiter. So Mars is really, really bringing some energy to Jupiter. Mars with a crap ton, because yes, that is a measurable amount. A crap ton of information to Jupiter, and it's blowing up. So, man, I don't know how much more news we can take, but let's look at Thursday. So Thursday, we have the moon now in Libra, and I've been setting these charts for 4 a.m. just to try and help out everyone on the East Coast as well, because they're so far, they're 3 hours ahead of us. But with the moon in Libra and at 0 degrees of Libra, we're developing some new foundation within our social connections. Libra is all about connections. Libra is all about relating to each other. And it's the sign that, that gets relationships engaged. It's the sign that creates, hopefully, some opportunity to stay, very balanced, to share opportunities, right? But Libra is also a sign of helping you to reflect back into yourself through, via, however you want to say that, the mirror of relationship. So we have that, but it's hooking up, it's moving towards the south node, and it's going to give us some more information, because the moon is our illuminator, another illuminator like the sun. But the moon attaches to our moods, and we do want to connect, and we do want balance, we want justice and fairness and equality. But the moon helps us to respond. And we're going to be responding from something in the past, and especially with Mercury retrograde. And look what Mercury's done. It's already so fast, it has moved so quickly. Look how fast Venus has moved forward, right? Just about a degree a day there. Mercury's moved back. So Mercury's moving away from Venus now, but it's really, well, it's only like 1 degree right there, but Mercury's headed towards Leo. By the time Mercury's, just to reiterate, by the time Mercury stations direct again, I will be at that later degree of Leo, which will be like 21 degrees Leo, if I remember right. So, yeah. Now, I don't know if we will eventually. The Sun and Mercury they conjunct. Mercury never goes too far away from the Sun because they're intrinsically connected in their orbit. So yeah, and the Sun is still in that that learning lesson stage there. So wow. And Mars, there we are, 12. There's that 3 degrees of separation there. Only 1 degree here. The Sun with this semi-square over to the Moon. Now, that's interesting. So whatever is brought up to our attention today, and it can be different for each one of us, of course, there will be some... And maybe for somebody this is some on-the-job training, because the Moon can definitely be, especially the Moon in Libra, can definitely be those relationship connections where somebody in a position of authority is relaying some information or some actual physical, like I said, on-the-job training. But it might not be a job. It might be a person who knows something and they're sharing, right? Because Libra is all about sharing, and Libra is very inclusive. So there can be some generous person who has figured out how it goes on some level about something, and then they share it with you. Now, on another possibility with the semi-square is there can be some friction. So if there's any friction with someone who doesn't seem very inclusive and they're coming from an arrogant position, well, you just go the other way. Because you're headed towards the unity. The Moon is moving quickly towards that south node. And then it will make that connection to the Moon Square series, right? And yeah, so there's that. There's that. And then also see how the Moon is trining Pluto here? And it's 0 degrees here. But this actually happened, I think about 3:30 in the morning. So no matter what time you wake up in the morning, it's very possible that you have an emotional, but I mean that, I don't mean it in a crazy kind of or emotionally reactive way. You can have a pure flow of feeling to your soul, because Pluto is all about the soul. And the Moon, with the trine there to Pluto, there could be a nice even flow. These are both air signs and talking to each other. This one wants to relate. Libra wants to relate. And Aquarius wants to categorize and network and make things bigger and get out of the box. Libra might not care if it stays in a box as long as it stays connected. Aquarius wants freedom. So you bring those two together and you might just have the best of both worlds, right? Like your Libra friend might say, well, but wait, you do have this tendency to burn bridges, so maybe just kind of wait. and you're over here going, oh, I can't take it anymore. But notice that we have an aspect of the architect here, coming from the Moon to Pluto and then over to that sextile that's been here from Neptune to Pluto. So now we have a connection. We have another leg hooking up with Pluto. So this is powerful this morning. This is very powerful. I can't wait to see if you guys, if you remember to drop it in the comments and let me know how it went for you today. It looks really good. So let's go ahead and go with Friday. Now Friday we have the moon here at 12 degrees. So the moon has crossed over the south node. There could have been some wonderful experiences that brought you together with someone from the past or somebody who's always been close to you, and you finally got together on some level. And now the moon is exactly trining Mars, and whatever experiences that helped to unify you, maybe put you on another, if you put yourself in the middle of that bridge to connect with someone else, whatever experience that brought through for you, now you've got a lot of energy to help you continue on, because the moon is always, of course, is moving constantly. Well, they all are, but the moon moves really quick. And then Mars is cooking along too. There's now, what do we have there? A little less than 2 degrees of separation. And this exact trine happens at 5:40 on Friday morning, and that would be Pacific time, of course. So yeah, now the sun is in an inconjunct to Saturn, so there's some adjustment to maybe your visualizing. Maybe there's some new information that came through, or you figured out some new way to express yourself creatively, or your creative project has expanded in such a way that you're really feeling like you need to make an adjustment to stay out of anything that's too limited. Because Saturn can feel limiting, especially in the sign of Pisces. But it can be so good for for creating that strong foundation. But on the political sphere, I get the feeling that this could be somebody with their arrogance, and then there's an adjustment, and people go running the other direction because, again, this government figure is not inclusive, and we're just not putting up with that anymore. There's such a small fraction of people, especially in the USA, that have any patience with that anymore, have any patience with racism and misogyny. And nobody wants to live under a fascist regime. So there we are. Yeah. But Saturn over here, the sun could be shining a light on what delays are coming through. There's that possibility. So if you have a delay that comes up today, just hang in there, because this will shift. The sun will move. The sun will come up tomorrow, right? Put on that Annie song, and you'll be okay, because it will shift. Let's see. Yeah, we still have the sesquisquadrate going on from Jupiter to Pluto. So again, just keep on keeping on with whatever new thing that you're learning, and know that it will empower you eventually. Like, on one level, just stubbornly hang in there to continue learning. And maybe it has to do with publicly speaking or anything to do with communication, because we're in that realm of Gemini. And it's powerful. This is a powerful, we want to free ourselves from our fears. And sometimes the way to do that is to go towards the fear. Learn as much as you can so that you feel safe as you can. But then, with Eris over here in Aries and the moon, the sun in Leo, it's basically sometimes you just feel the fear and you do it anyway. To not be trapped, right? Yeah. Okay. So I think that's good there. Let's go ahead and go to Saturday. So Saturday, we just have a lot of aspects to the moon, and there's a lot. If I go to move forward, so this is set for 4 a.m., and you can see the moon is opposing Chiron exactly, but it won't be long before, just 1 degree further, and it'll oppose Eris exactly. So let's just take care of both of these now. So this could be, even though it's Saturday, it could be one of those mornings where you wake up, and it could be a relationship that wakes you up, a person, and it's like, hey, come on, we got to get going. There's that possibility. And maybe you're feeling lazy, and they want you to go. And so you might have a little bit of a confrontation there. But it could also play out that somebody wants to be first at something, and you're over here going, well, but I already told you that. And so you kind of play around with that. I mean, it's okay. Who cares? We don't need to be first, right? Aries energy sometimes in the wounded sense, and that this would be, and I'm only speaking that way. Well, no, I'll speak in both terms anyway, but Chiron, the wounded healer or the deepest wounding, but is also our greatest gifts. In the sign of Aries, can have some people feeling such a need for independence, and then the moon over here in Libra is like, but wait, are you just going to cut and split from all relationships? Like, wait, what do you think and what's going on? And then you get down inside of it and you realize, well, you just don't want to be held down or held back. Well, try talking to them. Maybe they don't want to be held back either. Maybe they're just fine. Or maybe you need a break, and that's okay too. I'll need breaks sometimes. Because sometimes we all just need to, go in our cave and have our own space. But there's something about relationship pulling you out, and you could have a wonderful, wonderful breakthrough. But also, courage is needed to stay on your path. Don't abandon yourself, and don't be too impulsive, and you'll probably be just fine. But now, if you are too impulsive, or with this combo, it could be giving yourself away to stay in a relationship, then you're probably going to have some words this morning. Something's going to happen. And that's especially true because remember, Mars is hitting up Jupiter, and if there's a blow up, it can be big. And again, be conscious, be careful with your words. Yeah. The Sun and Saturn are still in that quincunx aspect, so it's still the same thing there with the adjustment that might need to be made. Again, shining a spotlight on something in the government or something that's limiting or a delay that you're just going to have to hold space for. With the Sun in Leo, the best way you can use that energy besides self-expression, creative self-expression, it's also loving. It's also enlarging your heart, right? And just trust. Just trust that eventually your love will manifest more love, that your creativity will be received, and you're going to just keep loving anyway because that's what we do. And we don't give up on love. We just don't, because it's who we are. Yeah. Okay. So later on, so at 9:36 a.m., I have my notes over here. 9:36 a.m., the moon, let's just do this. Let's just pop this forward. There's 10. Let's see what 9. Okay. So the moon is in an inconjunct to Uranus. Okay. So the moon has made it so far forward. Did I move this terribly? Yeah, okay, there we are. We have an adjustment now. The moon is in that, deepening phase where there can be a much deeper connection in relationship, but also it could have something to do with the public, because the moon rules the public, and the public wants fairness, equality, and, justice. And there's maybe some shocking adjustment that comes through. And look how Uranus has made it 1 degree further. We're now at that 27 degrees. And again, deepening and blooming that experience of enlightenment in the body, empathing abilities, right? Creating more freedom in your body, more freedom by getting straight with what matters to you most, getting straight with your principles that you live by. You don't need a Bible or any other spiritual text, so-called spiritual text, religious text. You don't need anything like that to tell you what's right. Loving and including and holding space for other people to, have what they need, whatever is loving is always the right way to go. Now, being codependent and using and other, situations like that's not real love, right? So learning and understanding what real love is like, that's a principle, that's a spiritual principle I think we all have intrinsically inside. We all have our morals that we don't need somebody to tell us. Apparently we do need laws because people don't want to live within the laws of love. We do need laws. But inside, those rules are very much alive and well. So, okay, now if I go forward to about 2, my next note here is the moon in conjunct Neptune. So I want to go to about 2 p.m. See here? So the moon's at 29. It's at that anaretic degree. This can be intensely focused on, maybe what we're going to have is some protests or something that happen. And so we have the moon to Neptune, because Neptune and Pisces can sometimes bring together, and it's at 29 degrees as well. So it can bring together some all-inclusive, compassionate people that really have something that they want to fight for. And I wonder if I go further ahead. Let's see. Yeah. Now we have the moon in it's not I can't say a grand, not any type of a trine. It's these two sesquisquares. So we've got the square going on. The moon squaring Pluto is enough, right? And the moon makes it into Scorpio at 3:34. I have this right now at 5 p.m. But so anytime from 3:30 in the afternoon, we could start seeing some confrontation. Scorpio doesn't mind, and this would be the public mood, and we don't mind confrontation. We don't mind intensity. We don't even mind conflict to get to the truth, to get to the deeper truth. Scorpio wants the deeper truth. That's why Scorpios make such good research, and psychologists and anybody that wants to just keep digging in deep, right? But now with the square to Pluto, this could be intimacy issues that are powerfully, pushing. It won't last long because the moon will move on, but we do have this stubborn kind of, energy here, and this detour and some disruptive energy here, because, Mars and Jupiter are only 2 degrees apart. Jupiter in Gemini wants to communicate. The moon over here in Scorpio is like, wait, I don't have all the information, or I need to figure out how I really feel first, and I don't like being pushed. Okay, so that could come up this morning, and rightfully so. And the same thing with Pluto at the other end of this sesquisquadrate, because, there you are with the Jupiter, wanting to communicate, and then Pluto's kind of maybe not feeling it, maybe wanting some time alone. Aquarian energy, Aquarius can be about withdrawing, and mostly to get our head straight, mostly to figure out what we really think, and then with Scorpio, the moon in Scorpio, how we really feel. So there's that. Yeah. Okay, let's go ahead and go to Sunday. So Sunday, we have the moon sextiling Venus at 7:40 in the morning exactly, but this chart is set for 4 a.m., and you can see that the moon is still in Scorpio, of course, and for now this morning early in the morning we don't have any aspects, okay, but and that's actually pretty cool, because to just not have anything hitting us emotionally can give us that depth that we want. Because we're developing a deeper foundation within that is very connected to, our intuition, our guts, our I mean, the moon is just everything. It's our need for comfort and safety and security, but it's our psyche and our body and our soul. It's how we nurture ourselves and how we nourish ourselves even, right? It's the things that we do for self-soothing and self-regulation and all of that, all the good stuff. It's also connected to, the moon's also connected to our inner rhythms, So that maybe this morning would be really, really good before we get an aspect to that sextile to Venus down here. But maybe what would be best would be to have a lot of time for meditation this morning, to go deeply within and develop a deeper spiritual foundation within. Because we certainly have, of course, still the sextile coming from Neptune to Pluto, and we want to take full advantage of that. So, and now that we have Mars closer to Jupiter, we have the two sesquisquadrates to Pluto. So there's just more energy. Mars moves energy, and it's more mental energy hitting us, right in the soul and right into the areas that maybe we need to bring something to light, something that can help us be more humble, something that eliminates. Pluto can help to eliminate something. And maybe there's just so much nervous energy with all this, Gemini, and these are both air signs here, from Gemini to Libra. And maybe we're grateful that the moon's in Scorpio because it's water and there's that depth. Okay, and you can also see we have that little semi-sextile going from Venus now. Venus is already at 7 degrees. Mercury's 5 degrees away. And with that semi-sextile, it's hooking up to the foundations are balance in the past. Whatever balance we've created, we can develop even more with this aspect going on. Let's see. The sun has made it to 19 degrees, so now we are firmly moving out of the learning lesson stage, and we're getting ready to move into, tomorrow we'll definitely be in the deepening and blossoming and blooming stage. So this is really good for your creativity. Venus is in an exact in conjunct to the North Node. So whatever, being in this, first decan of the sign, whatever new foundation you've been building full of facts and information and healing practices and even taking care of your fur babies and anything that you want to nurture and get into order, basically, get into divine order. There might be an adjustment because you find something and then that will change how you move forward. Okay? So give yourself lots and lots of time. And then let's go ahead and move forward to, it's 7:40 that we have that sextile, but you can see it already coming in. Now that the moon is at 7 degrees of Scorpio, it is sextiling Venus. So this is really, really great. Now, Virgo and Scorpio energy both like to get to the facts. They both like to go deep. Scorpio likes to go deep. Virgo wants the facts. And with Venus in Virgo, Venus wants, okay, and Virgo, the facts, and to heal, right? To create divine order, to bring in some semblance of order. And we also have the trine up here. The Venus is also trining Ceres, so that's really wonderful. But with these two sextiles coming off of the moon, and this starts at about 7 a.m. and then it becomes exact at 7:40. We're going to be in this, prime experience or possibility for experiencing something really wonderful that helps us to create opportunities to nurture what matters most to us in the future and to protect what matters most to us, and then also that will help us to create more harmony and health in our lives. So these are just really, really good aspects. And if you haven't noticed it yet, I'll just enlarge this a little bit. Let's see. Notice that we have between the sextile to the moon and Venus, which are both, Venus is women, and Mercury and Virgo's talking a lot about women. And then we've got, I think Scorpio is very connected to the female reproductive system, right? Wouldn't you think? Wouldn't you agree? And with the South Node in Libra holding that balance, coming from Venus in Virgo and the Moon in Scorpio, we're building something, we're manifesting something here, and it's all pointing to the future because of the North Node. We've got a yod right here. Okay, now that's at 7 a.m. That's starting. So really, the Sunday is a wonderful day to figure out exactly where you want to go. There might be adjustments that come in because you go deeper and you find, oh, actually, I want to do it this way, or I want to experience this, or I've done it so many other different ways, and I know I don't want that because I've tried that and that and that and that, and now it's this. And so you'll do the work to make those adjustments, whatever it is. So yeah, okay. But other than that, it looks good. It looks like it all looks good, and it looks like a week devoted to getting ourselves in order, supporting the feminine, supporting our creativity, and a lot of light being shown on the BS, yeah. I think our BS meters are just going to be burn all week long. It's okay. You stay true to you and all will work out. Okay. Thanks, you guys. Take good care. Bye.